At 16, while most teenagers are begging for car keys, Alysa Liu had already conquered every peak American figure skating put in her path. She had the gold hardware, the triple axels, the media circus, and paparazzi tracking her movements before the sun came up. Then, she vanished. No shattered knee, no tabloid explosion, no tragic collapse on the ice. She simply walked away. Back then, nobody called it bravery. They called it a waste, especially since her father had reportedly sunk nearly $1 million into her dream. That cash fueled private rink time in Oakland, cross-country flights, costumes costing more than a sedan, and an army of choreographers and therapists. When you carry a price tag that heavy, quitting doesn't feel like liberation. It feels like defaulting on a loan. In April 2022, she dropped her retirement post on social media without fanfare. No press conference, just a note. She had just placed 7th at the Beijing Olympics and snagged bronze at Worlds. Usually, that's the launchpad for a superstar career. But for her, it marked the grave of a life that had devoured her childhood. She later confessed that being on the ice felt less like a passion and more like managing her dad's startup company. That admission hits harder than any medal. When you turn pro at 13, the applause drowns out your actual youth. Proms turn into practice drills. Weekends disappear into airport terminals. Happiness morphs into a job description. The spectators see the glitter, but the reality of elite skating is a brutal, calculated grind. Every calorie is counted, curves are analyzed, a single botched landing becomes a topic of national debate. At that altitude, raw skill isn't enough. You have to manage your body like a high-risk investment portfolio. So she quit. For almost 2 years, she did the one thing champions are terrified to do. Absolutely nothing competitive. She backpacked, trekked to Everest Base Camp, enrolled at UCLA, and finally slept past 5 o'clock in the morning. But here's the kicker. For a long time, she didn't miss the cold, hard ice for a second. That apathy screams burnout louder than any scorecard ever could. Some exits are forced by fate. Hers was a choice, and walking away on your own terms hits different. No injury to scapegoat, no villain, just pure relief. Then came the spark. Early 2024, a leisure ski trip. No judges, just gravity and snow. The rush felt like home. Her muscles remembered the thrill of the edge and the risk before her brain even caught up. She laced up her skates again, not to plot a return to glory, but just to see if the love was still buried under the ice. That distinction is vital because fear drives athletes to quit, but curiosity drives them to reinvent the game. It wasn't pretty at first. The rust was thick. Her timing was a mess. But the dynamic had shifted. She picked the tracks, set the hours, and rested when her body screamed stop. The machine was gone. When she officially returned to the circuit in late 2024, eyebrows went up. When she snatched the World Championship in 2025, jaws dropped. Then came Milan, February 19th, 2026. She wasn't the darling or the bet. She just went out and nailed 7 triples, including a razor-sharp Lutz-toe combo. The judges took notice. The lenses focused. And for the first time, her smile actually reached her eyes. She left with 2 golds, 1 solo, 1 team breaking a 24-year drought for American women. Inevitably, the talk turned to cash. Before Milan, experts pegged her net worth at maybe $500,000. That is peanuts for a star, especially given the fortune spent creating her. But gold medals rewrite the ledger. The Olympic Committee pays out roughly $37,500 per win. She cashed that check twice. She already had deals with Nike and Samsung, but those contracts are about to get a massive facelift. Yet, the real story isn't her current bank balance. It is the price of admission to get there. Forget the headlines. Alysa Liu's financial saga isn't a rags-to-riches fairy tale. It is about a gift that almost crushed her, only to flourish once she finally snatched the reins back. The wealth followed the freedom. After Milan, the valuation rumors started swirling before the torch was even extinguished. Analysts estimated her net worth at roughly $500,000. That figure seems absurdly low for a double Olympic champion, shattering the myth of instant Olympic riches. But figure skating isn't the NFL. The ice itself doesn't print money. The machinery surrounding the rink is where the profit lies. And that brings us back to the sharp edge of her story. Her dad's investment of up to $1 million over 10 years is usually painted as a noble sacrifice. Once the medals are won, the pundits love to rewrite history, calling it a smart investment, as if a guaranteed payout was sitting there waiting all along. That version is too clean. It scrubs away the years of uncertainty, where no promise of a medal or career existed to justify the bleeding bank account. Long before the 2026 games kicked off, Alysa already had major endorsement deals tethered to her reputation. Industry giants like Nike, Samsung, and Gillette Venus had publicly aligned with her, but those contracts were wagers on potential, not rewards for history. She possessed youth, marketability, and freakish talent, but she lacked the one title that changes the conversation: Olympic champion. Corporations will write checks for promise, absolutely, but they unlock the real vault only when that promise is confirmed. This is precisely why the night of February 19, 2026, carries weight far beyond the celebratory photos. She hit the ice for the free skate sitting in third place, not the clear favorite, not the safe bet, and that uncertainty is exactly what creates leverage. She threw down a flawless free skate featuring 7 triple jumps and a razor-sharp triple Lutz triple toe combination, a routine that showed zero desperation. It was a performance of pure ownership, and her score skyrocketed her straight to the top of the podium. The Team Gold followed immediately after, giving sponsors 2 iconic moments to loop on repeat, along with some instant cash in hand. Thanks to the Operation Gold initiative from the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, a gold medal triggers a payout of roughly $37,500. She bagged 2 of them, totaling around $75,000 in direct winnings, but that is hardly the headline. The real financial earthquake happens quietly, buried in the fine print of her contracts where milestones dictate the money. Making the team or winning gold acts as a key, unlocking bonuses, opening renegotiation windows, and launching entirely new partnership tiers. The document you sign before the Olympics bears almost no resemblance to the paper you sign after conquering the world. Appearance fees skyrocket, speaking requests flood in, and producers start calling. Ice show offers shift from token gestures to serious business proposals. And there is a critical detail most analysts gloss over because it doesn't look like currency, even though it is. She is only 20. That age is significant because a 20-year-old double Olympic champion isn't just a winner. She is a long-term asset with a massive runway. Advertisers aren't renting a single season. They are buying years of relevance. And her status as a UCLA student adds a layer of relatability that corporate campaigns adore. Add to that her identity as a Chinese-American athlete with genuine traction in multiple major global markets. While that doesn't promise riches, it absolutely ignites interest, and sustained interest is the fuel that drives a bidding war. Once the games end, media schedules tighten up, and agents fight tooth and nail to slot their talent into the most impactful interviews. A beaming, scandal-free Olympic victor is infinitely easier to sell than a star who looks burnt out by the spotlight. That genuine smile she flashed after her free skate is worth more in advertising dollars than any technical element on the scoresheet. However, there is a deeper narrative here that the standard script barely grazed before moving on. For years, money represented pressure rather than reward. The spending piled up first, and the expectations followed, creating a dynamic that can poison a young talent. It can turn every performance into a debt repayment plan, but after Milan, that financial story completely inverts. Now, wealth is the consequence, not the engine, and that shift provides a psychological buffer that essentially lowers the business risk for everyone involved. This is the nuance people miss. Sponsors are not just investing in metal discs. They are betting on the likelihood that their star won't collapse under the crushing weight of global attention. Alysa had already flashed the strength to walk away on command. She made it known that she didn't need the ice to breathe. But then she stormed back, completely unscathed. That sort of defiance hits different for the fans, and it definitely shakes up the boardroom. So when you hear estimates pegging her net worth at $500,000, understand that those numbers describe the past, before the Olympic boost kicked in. Net worth evaluations are almost always rearview mirrors. They lag miles behind the current reality. The truth is, with 2 gold medals in hand, she is standing at the base of an exponential curve, not the end of the road. The question isn't if she will become wealthy, but rather how quickly it happens and what she is willing to trade to get there. There is a rhythm to Olympic history that is rarely explained. The medal grabs the headlines, but the second year captures the cash. If you review the history of American Winter Olympic champions, the financial spike almost never aligns with the week of victory. The boom happens when contracts renew, when brands decide if the athlete was a fleeting moment or a sustainable platform. That distinction is everything for Alysa Liu. 1 gold medal creates a splash, but 2 gold medals build leverage. Yet, leverage only converts into fortune if the momentum is navigated with surgical precision. We have seen champions peak too early, oversaturating the media and fading away before the next Olympic cycle even begins. The savvy ones choose fewer deals with higher price tags and longer shelf lives, playing the long game. At 20 years old, with double gold and a comeback story that feels earned rather than manufactured, she is holding all the cards. That kind of leverage is exactly what separates a comfortably paid athlete from a genuine empire builder. If you look at the archives, American figure skating royalty typically sees their sponsorship values skyrocket in the 24 months following a gold medal run. Touring productions and ice shows can easily ink deals hitting the $1 million mark, contingent on exclusivity and the length of the run. For icons with mass appeal, stepping onto a corporate stage for a keynote speech often commands fees ranging from high five figures to well over $100,000 per hour. National television commercials dwarf the actual competition prize money. Yet that is where the clean logic ends and the messy reality of sports finance begins. True wealth relies on charisma, the cultural zeitgeist, and having the wisdom to turn down the wrong checks. The commercial playbook in 2026 bears little resemblance to the rules written 2 decades prior. An Instagram following carries nearly as much weight as the gold around her neck, turning fan interaction into immediate revenue. A scandal-free victor with a digital army can broker online partnerships that operate totally outside the boundaries of legacy television advertising. Alysa did not walk into Milan empty-handed. The corporate alliances were already in place. Once the anthem plays, however, those agreements get torn up and rewritten with aggressive multipliers and entirely new leverage. Before the games, you are selling potential. Standing on the podium, you are selling hard evidence. While victory spikes the price tag, there is a hidden variable lurking in the background: longevity. Some stars cash in immediately only to fade away, while others play the long game, letting their equity snowball year after year. That snowball effect demands a pristine image, no scandals, no mental breakdowns, and no boring the audience. Here is where walking away at 16 years old transforms from a career liability into a major financial asset. Pundits argued over it, calling it a mistake, while others recognized it as a necessary act of emotional self-preservation. From a marketing standpoint, that hiatus gifted her something rare: a complex, redemption-style backstory that proved she was more than just a machine. She evolved from the child star into the woman who reclaimed her destiny, shattering the one-dimensional mold usually forced on skaters. Generic athletes are a tough sell once the headlines change, but a character with layers keeps the public hook set deep. That depth converts to dollars, especially when you factor in the massive appeal of a Chinese-American icon bridging 2 superpowers. Global corporations hunt for faces that can resonate with consumers on both sides of the Pacific. That cross-cultural reach unlocks massive budgets, particularly in Asian territories where the appetite for figure skating is voracious. Yet, financial gravity is real. Nothing kills momentum faster than being everywhere while achieving nothing. If her scores crash in the post-Olympic season, the tone of those sponsor calls changes instantly. When the spotlight dims, the checks get smaller. So the prediction that her current $500,000 standing is about to explode is not just a guess. It is a calculated bet based on decades of Olympic economics, though no bet is ever a sure thing. Her secret weapon, however, is her composure. She does not radiate that frantic hunger for the camera. Desperation smells like risk to investors, whereas selectivity projects a kind of blue-chip stability. Then there is the historical context. The 2026 Games ended a 24-year gold medal famine for American women in the singles event. Breaking a drought turns an athlete into a symbol, and symbols have a much longer shelf life than mere winners. That legendary status fuels ad campaigns for years, marking a distinct pivot in how her career is perceived. Before 2022, the narrative focused entirely on the expense ledger, what was lost, what was paid, and if the gamble made sense. Post-Milan, the conversation flips to return on investment, a much more pleasant topic for everyone involved. While the accounting looks solid, the equation still relies on fragile things like health and drive. The gold medal ensured we look at her. It did not ensure we would keep looking, meaning Alysa is not currently sitting at her financial peak. She is merely at the trailhead. The moves made in the next 18 to 24 months will decide if she enters the ultra-wealthy tier or remains a modest Olympic footnote. That uncertainty is where the true pressure lies. We want the fairy tale. Father spends millions, daughter wins double gold, and they ride off into the sunset. But reality is jagged, even if the spreadsheets currently look fantastic. We are looking at roughly $75,000 in direct prize winnings from the 2 victories. Add to that the pre-signed contracts ready for renegotiation and the lucrative appearance fees that are suddenly very serious business. The financial arrow points up, but potential revenue does not pay the bills, execution does. The post-game aftermath is a whirlwind of flashing lights, media blitzes, and high-stakes meetings in quiet hotel suites. It is easy to mistake that chaos for progress, but sometimes all that sound and fury signifies absolutely nothing. Forget about the paycheck from February 2026. The real suspense hangs on the moves she makes in 2027. If you look at the track record for solo gold medalists, the pattern is undeniable. That rookie year on the throne is absolute mayhem. Year 2 is where the dust settles and true character emerges. Some stars burn out while others forge an identity that outshines the hardware. Alysa has already proven she possesses the guts to abandon the very thing the world thinks she was born to do. Do not overlook the cash value of that exit. Knowing you can leave gives you a terrifying amount of leverage at the bargaining table. There is a massive gap between needing a check and deciding if a check is worth your time, a distinction that dictates how long you last in this game. One haunting fact remains. When she hung up her skates at 16, she confessed the sport felt less like a passion and more like managing someone else's startup. That sentiment didn't vanish into thin air. It just went dormant. Post-Milan, the narrative shifted to pure euphoria. The grin was real, the shoulders were loose, and the vibe was clearly one of voluntary participation. She showed zero fear during the free skate, a magnetic confidence that sponsors crave and fans can feel in their bones, even if they can't explain it. However, happiness is a delicate flower in the big leagues because big checks come with heavy strings attached. Demands fill the calendar, the grind wears you down, and suddenly, the ice starts to feel like that same prison she escaped back in 2022. There are no promises here. The athletes who bank the most coin usually offer more than just raw talent on the podium. The empires are built on steady nerves, clean reputations, and the wisdom to know when to push and when to breathe. At this moment, she is holding all the aces. A 20-year-old with 2 gold medals is a unicorn in this industry. She shattered a 24-year curse for American ladies, a statistic that marketing teams will milk in every pitch deck for the next decade. Yet, gold tarnishes, crowds find new idols, and fresh faces eventually steal the front page. Her only lasting safety net is strategy. Her current valuation hovering near $500,000 before the Olympic bonus hits isn't startling due to its size. The shock comes from how modest the sum is when you compare it to the massive legend surrounding her name. People think a gold medal is a winning lottery ticket, but in truth, it's just a key to the VIP room. You still have to play the game to get paid, and that hinges on her next move. Does she lace up for another 4-year grind? Does she cut back events to save her body? Or does she sign every contract that slides across the desk? Can she stay true to the girl who knew when to quit? Because underneath the glory, there is a darker reality lurking. She didn't foot the bill for this journey. Her father reportedly poured between $500,000 and $1 million into her career over 10 years. An investment of that magnitude can look like parental devotion, but it can also feel like a crushing debt. The tables have turned, and she controls the purse strings now, a shift that inevitably rewires family relationships, no matter how close they are. It alters the hierarchy of who calls the shots and who bears the burden, a taboo subject that nobody discusses, but everyone feels. Ironically, her most expensive asset wasn't landing a triple jump. It was her power to say no. The audacity to walk out when the vibe was off, and the grace to walk back in without looking desperate. If she holds on to that intuition, her bank account could easily swell into the multi-millions through smart renewals, touring fees, and picky partnerships. But if she ignores her gut, she might see a quick cash spike followed by an equally rapid collapse. Alysa is currently standing at a silent crossroads. In her rearview mirror lies a $1 million tab, a pair of gold medals, and a return that shocked the world. Stretching out in front of her are unsigned deals, imaginary programs, and choices that won't reveal their true consequences for years. Perhaps the truest way to calculate her value isn't with a calculator, but by recognizing this pivotal moment in time. The trophies are etched in stone, but the fortune is still slipping through her fingers.